Hey, this is Daniel for Adorama Pro. This week on set, we're going to talk about photographing a subject in front of a white background. We're going to work with the video camera and video lights today, but the same concepts work for still image as well. First thing we want to do when we're trying to set up a white background is get the background white. So with video, you can use something called zebras, which will help you know where your exposure's at. I'm using the Sony A7 here, so I'm going to turn on the zebra function. There's different levels of it, so this is like your percentage of overexposure, if you will. So at 90%, we'll still be detail on the white, it won't be blown out. If I go to 100, obviously that's white. 110 means, or 100 plus means over. So 90 is usually safe. You can always add a little bit of contrast, and you almost always will in your post anyway. So I'm gonna set the zebras at 90. I'm gonna come into it, and we'll start recording so we can have this footage to look at. So obviously right now we got Dave here, he's not lit at all. So what I'm gonna do is go and start by turning on my background lights. These are, all three lights I'm using are the same. They're Starlights from Photoflex. These type of fixtures can take either a mogul base lamp up to 1,000 watts, or it can take, in this case we're using regular PhotoFloods. These are 250 watt PhotoFloods. I'm just simply gonna turn them on. I've got them into umbrellas right now, just white bouncy umbrellas. Now, what we want to do when lighting a background with umbrellas is you want to take your umbrellas and point them kind of across the path. You don't want to light this side with one umbrella and the other side with the other umbrella. You want your umbrella on the right to light to the left and vice versa. So I'm basically just going to spin this thing around until I've got coverage going in both directions. So I'm just eyeballing it. It looks pretty even. But I can come back and check out my screen, and it certainly looks white to my eye. However, I don't see any zebra pattern yet, so I know I'm not blowing out. So I think I'm essentially underexposed for where I want to be. So what I'm going to do is change my ISO. Remember, in video, you want to keep your shutter speed at double your frame rate. I'm shooting 24 frames, so 1/50th is where we're at. This is an f4 lens, so I can't open up anymore, and plus if Dave moves around, I don't want to lose him in focus-wise. So I have plenty of ISO I can sacrifice. This camera is good to about 1600 ISO anyways. So right here we can see that we're actually getting some zebraing here. This part where it's going really crazy actually means it's over. So we're pretty white here. If I go a little bit more on the ISO, you can see my zebras moving down. I think that should be pretty much coverage. Dave will be blocking this part, so I'm not going to worry about that. So all of this that's zebra is going to be white. So we know we're good there. So if Dave, you can jump in. Okay, so we've got Dave here. Now, one problem that we're going to encounter already is that you can see we're zebraing on Dave's face. So that means we have no detail there. Another solution would be to move him further away from the background, but we're in a very limited space here, so we can't do that. So what I'm going to do is take a flag. Okay. So this is a flag or a cutter from Matthews. It's part of their RoadRags system. It's a system of modifiers for your lights that breaks down into a small bag. I had the bag actually hanging on the light stand over there. You can get flags or cutters, you get nets, which we're going to show you in a second, and you get silks. So what we want to do here is bring this in, and you can see that if I go like this, you can see the light from the background's hitting Dave's face. If I start to slide it in, you can actually see where it's cutting off. So now on that side of him, if I look here, so you can see that on this side, it actually looks kind of nice, except for the fact that it's blown out to give him that shape. So instead of using a cutter, what I could use is what's called a net. I'll show you that. So this is a net. It's a single net. I know that because it has a green border. A single net will knock down your exposure of your light by approximately 1 stop without affecting the quality of light or the color or anything else. So essentially I can bring this in, and again, I'm going to position it just so it's blocking the light that's hitting Dave. And now when we look here, we're not zebraing anymore on his face, but we still have some light hitting it, so we still have some nice shape and form. And I am also zebraing on the other side. And I only have a net with me. So what we're going to use on this side is just simply a piece of show card. This is going to act like the cutter. It's basically just going to block the light without letting any go through. So I'm just going to bring it in and position it just so it's cutting the light off of the side of Dave's face where it's going to blow out. And that should have effectively taken care of, you know, our blowing out. If you really wanted it to be super even, you'd have to have 2 nets. But you can see actually this is a good example of having a net on this side and a cutter on the other. So this looks pretty good that we know the background's white. Dave's lit up, you know, slightly from the back, but he's not blowing out. Now we just have to bring a key light in for his face. For that, I have another Starlite here. Exact same fixture as we had on these lights, except for in this one I have a 500 watt bulb, and I've got it in a silver dome small. So this is a 16 by 20 softbox. I'm simply going to turn it on and position it. I typically like to light men somewhat from the side, so I'm going to bring it over to the side a little bit. Make sure I put a sandbag on it. And now we're going to look at our zebras to make sure that we're not zebraing out anywhere on Dave. Now if he was to take half a step forward, oh, see, he's still within a pretty good safe zone. So even if he moves forward while he's overexposed, he doesn't have any zebras. So he's actually pretty safe where he's at. So go ahead and take a step back, Dave. So in his position, he seems to be properly exposed. Everything looks nice to me. We've got a nice shadow on this side of his face, but broken up by the highlight where we have the net. And then on this side, he's just evenly lit. So now he can do a presentation or whatever against his white background, really clean and nice. Okay, so that's how you would light a subject against a white background. If you were doing still photography, I'd recommend possibly going up on your shutter speed a little bit so that you're not going to have the person be blurry, and then you can just do a little more ISO to cover it. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please leave a comment or send me an email.